Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Modern Overman. Okay, so for today's video, I want to talk to you about Thundershower since we finally got the wildcard condition back into slight rotation. Right now, it's only on Stillwater Bayou and Mammoth's Gulch, which I'm a little concerned about, but we'll talk about that at the end of the video. But just to kind of set up this video is what I'm kind of showing is a more immersive side to the Thundershower and then a kind of more playable side to the Thundershower. And what that means is that the first clip of gameplay here is where I'm going to, I would say max settings how my game looks, and what that means is on console, at least on the PS5 version, but I'm sure this is very similar on the Xbox Series X, where the HDR settings allow you to increase the contrast and the exposure, and in order to kind of like make your game, you know, look to your liking. And in my opinion, Hunt Showdown, because of its textures and lighting, I think that it looks really best when it has high contrast and low exposure. And so I wanted to do a test to kind of like maximize those values, or minimize, you know, depending on the value, with Thundershower, and kind of to, you know, to get a feel for its immersive quality to it, especially considering that Thundershower, in the previous iteration of the game, I felt just frankly was ass to play because the volume was so loud, and so you couldn't hear anybody's footsteps or anything like that. You couldn't hear people when they're running almost right near you during the heavy rain cycle. And on top of that, it was incredibly foggy with the rain filter over it. And so I wanted to test out how the updated 1896 version of CryEngine would look with the Thundershower. So that is going to be the first gameplay clip here, is that more immersive side to it. And then our second gameplay clip will be an actual, like, okay, this is how I want it to look when I'm playing it, you know, because as I play the game, I change my settings various, you know, depending on the times of day to suit my visual needs and on how well I can actually see in the game. So why don't we go ahead and get into it, and don't forget to stick around at the end of the video and we'll talk about some other wildcard stuff. But that being said, let's get into it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. Holy shit, dude, we got rain. Okay, wow, it is just as noxious as it would be before. Okay, this is going to be our test, dude. This is going to be our test. This is going to be our test. This is how, in my opinion, this is what the game looks like at its best. Right here. We have shadow, so we don't have to worry about AI. Wow. Wow, it is just as ridiculous as before. Bomb lance, which is excellent. Oh my god. You got rain, dude. Oh, it's light rain now. I think the heavy rain is not supposed to last for a long time. I was wondering when we were going to get rain, dude, if we were going to get rain at all this session. Nice. Yeah, we got to go far. Oh my god, look how dark it is right here. I mean, it does make it more immersive, obviously. Okay, somebody's on a bomb lance kick. At least you can hear a little bit better during the light rain, and it's not as foggy, which I appreciate. I appreciate it's not as foggy. Heavy rain is about to start, right? Dude, it does, doesn't it? Okay, so you get a little bit of fog, which is about the normal amount, maybe slightly thicker. Holy shit, dude. Okay, now remember those crows are from the heavy rain. Those crows are from the heavy rain. Can't even see my own goddamn weapon. These aren't going off, which is weird. Oh my god, I can't see shit. Okay, let's assess for a second. Let's stick your head out, dude. Ooh! Damn! You guys got a bow also? No big deal, dude. That was a headshot, by the way. Get him up, get him up. That was lucky. This guy's a bomb at so. What? I'll be able to hear him. Yeah. Okay, I guess not. Looks nice. Looks really nice, actually. See if we can get a 4-shot boom up there. A little bit of extra cover. Video cover at least. There's something up here. Remedy. Yeah, that stinks. It's making such a weird sound. I wonder if another team showed up, and so now they're kind of tearing through time. You know what we could do? We could push behind them. That's actually not a bad idea. See if there's any immediate. Oh, I know where there's a. There's probably a loot box up there. So I can't tell if that's underneath. Yeah, that's underneath, so. Oh no! You're riding, dude? Hurry up, hurry up. Oh, yes! Should I just kill all of them? Oh my dude. Oh my god, yes. Oh my god, yes. Oh my god, yes. It just killed all of them. That is some ratty ass shit, dude. Worth it. Okay, so the last thing here I want to talk about to you guys at the end of the video is just the wildcard condition in general, and some future stuff that I would like to see, and maybe some things that I'm a little worried about. And the first thing I want to just talk about is the fact that Thundershower right now is only available on 2 maps, Stillwater Bayou and Mammon's Gulch. And I gotta say, it's kind of just more disappointment from Crytek. And the thing that bothers me is that, like, you know, this event that's currently going on is already so long. It was nearly 90 days. I think in the end it was 89 days in total length. And so, and I think the reason why they initially wanted it to be so long, which we'll talk about in another video, was because people, you know, they thought that people wanted more time to complete the events, and so they gave us a lot of extra time. I've been done with the event technically for, I mean, not technically completely finished with the battle pass, but I've been done with it for a couple weeks now. I only just got the last little charm, but I never intentionally go for those. I always just kind of leave those aside because I don't care for them. But because this event is so long, and I've been playing, you know, a decent amount, I guess a regular amount, really, I've gotten that last little charm. And so I think that the reason why this event was so scarce is that's why they decided to drop the Thundershower event. Is that they were working on it, they were intending on bringing it back, but they only got 2 of the maps instead of all 4, and so they're like, well, we're almost done with this, and people are already dropping off. I mean, I have incredibly long queue times most days when I'm playing, and so I think because people are already starting to drop off, they realize, oh, there's not technically enough content. You know, we're going to bring back the rain and add a little bit of a dynamic gameplay to it. So there's that. with that in mind, with Thundershower in mind, I do think that by the end of this event, or probably not even technically, we probably won't get the other two maps with Thundershower back on them until the next event, which would be like a fall, winter, maybe Halloween event. I'm not entirely sure. This event ends in September, and so I can imagine, you know, the end of November, we might get another map, and then we might get rain back. I don't think we're getting any other new wildcard conditions this year. That just seems unlikely. But when we do get them back, there's at least two or three, kind of technically, that one of the other I might or might not like to see return. The first one is Inferno. You've been waiting. A lot of people have been asking that for to come back for a long time now. It had two variants. It just had Inferno, where there was fire throughout the map, and then there is Dark Inferno, which was a nighttime fire. I don't see why they couldn't do both and have it be the same. Like you could have fire on during the day and then fire during the night. I don't see why you couldn't do that, especially considering that the game's previous director, I don't remember his name. I think it was Sean or something like that. He was an American guy, and he left almost right after the Post Malone event, which is like really startling and concerning. But he left Crytek to go move on to bigger and better things, and he even said in an interview that he would like to see Inferno on Mammoth Gulch. And so I don't know if that vision is still elsewhere in the company, but I would like to see Inferno come back personally. I think it was a really striking contrast in the map layouts. It was such an interesting wildcard condition. The other one is Ash Bloom. This is something I don't want back at all. I was really hesitant to get rain back, but since it's been back, it actually hasn't been that bad just because of our controls. Ash Bloom, I feel like, was really bad. It was just like really excessive fog and a loud droning noise. I don't want that back in the game. I really don't. If people miss it, I'm sorry. This is my opinion. I don't want Ash Bloom back. It added nothing interesting to the game. It was honestly just more of a nuisance. It was hardly an effect. They said like, oh well, after the fire, after Inferno, we're gonna have all this ash in the air, right? Well, okay, yeah, maybe. But it just wasn't interesting. It didn't add anything new to the game. As far as dynamics are concerned, at least Inferno, you have physical areas where you can't move any longer because of the fire. And so I think that is an actual interesting dynamic to the game, whereas Thundershower doesn't really do that, but we'll talk about that here in a minute, like when it comes to future stuff. But yeah, I just don't want Ash Bloom back in the game. Now, as far as future wildcard conditions are concerned, there are a couple ideas that I have here, and I want to start with just talking about Thundershower and how I wish they could have made changes to it, and maybe some modifications that they could do in the future, although unlikely. But this is just something that speculation is something that I would like to see. So something that I had kind of floated amongst friends who played this game in the past, before they ever introduced wildcard conditions, was thinking about like, okay, like we still just had the Bayou maps. I don't think we had DeSalle yet when I was initially thinking about this, but because of being in the Bayou, I mean, what is down in southern Louisiana, and just in southern states in general, are hurricanes. And I think it would be really interesting if we had a modified version of Thundershower where you had a hurricane. Now, it wouldn't be that detrimental to the actual gameplay, but I think it'd be interesting if where you have kind of an eye of a storm on one section of the map, and these would be on the Bayou maps, like DeSalle, Stillwater, and Lawson, and not Mammoth Gulch, but we'll talk about that in a second. But you would have the eye of the storm in the center of the map where there would be just high winds and it would be really loud, and you'd have a lot of rain. Like really, really, really heavy rain may be incredibly difficult to see. And then it wouldn't affect bullet time or travel or drop or anything like that. And then you would have like decently heavy rain kind of near it, and then like the further away you get from it, it would be less rain, and it wouldn't move. It would just be stationary. But maybe like boss layers would be more likely to be near the center of the eye of the storm, something like that. And I think it would be really cool is you could have it be both night and day, but I think the closer that you get to the eye of the storm, AI, like, zombie mobs and everything like that, would be more likely to be found inside of buildings rather than outside, trying to, like, I don't know, something instinctual, like, left over, from their, previous lives that they would move inside. And so you'd have to deal with more mobs inside of the buildings. I think that would just be interesting. And then on top of that, maybe you could have it to where, you have certain areas that are like a little bit more flooded, and so it makes traversal that much more difficult. It'd be a lot of extra work that they'd have to do to the game, but I feel like in combination with Inferno, you kind of had something like that to begin with, where areas of traversal were either made impossible or made difficult to traverse, and so something like that I think would be really cool. Now, as far as Mammoth's Gulch is concerned, you don't have hurricanes up in the mountains. You just don't. And so I think would be really interesting is to have a version of this where it would be a tornado. And maybe you just have something like, again, in the corner of the map, maybe you would see like a visual tornado. Maybe it would be technically off of the boundary of the map, so you couldn't actually get to it. But have it just be like high winds and rain and, thunder and lightning, that sort of thing. And it would basically play the same effect, but you wouldn't have the visual of a hurricane. You would see an actual tornado, on like a flat part of the edge of the map. I think that would be really cool to see, and basically have it, function the same thing as the hurricane version of Thundershower. I think that would be really cool, and it would just be interesting. It'd be an interesting sight to see. Like obviously, during a tornado, you have a lot of interesting, vibrant colors. Like some more greens and darker blues and everything like that. I just think it would be interesting to have that on the map. Now, the last thing I would want to talk about here is something that everybody has been asking to come to Hunt for a long time, since they even started talking about wildcard conditions, or started talking about new hypothetical maps going out of the bayou, and that would be snow. Everybody wants snow. Now, I think a compromise that you could do, aside from having a snow map, which I don't know, it was a little interesting seeing that we didn't get snow on Mammoth's Gulch, considering it does have mountainous regions. It would be, I don't know, I don't see why they couldn't at least have experimented with that. That seems like kind of a blind spot that they didn't do, but I think a good compromise would be to have a snowstorm or blizzard wildcard condition, and have that be specifically on Mammoth's Gulch. Now, obviously that wouldn't make sense necessarily on the Bayou maps. Maybe you could have it modified to where like it gets colder and like have a winter month vibe to it. I don't know exactly what you could do. It seems, yeah, that would just be interesting, and how you would justify not having it on the other maps aside from just like obvious reasons. But that's something that they could work out, and if you guys have any ideas, like, feel free to drop them down in the comments. But absolutely on Mammoth's Gulch, I think having a snowstorm and blizzard type effect where there's lots of snow on the ground, and like as you're traversing the map, you just have regular snow and some snow flurries, and then you have a heavy version of it to where you get a lot of heavy snowfall in a big blizzard. And maybe as far as like challenging traversal is concerned, like walking through the snow is, you can track footsteps and everything like that, and you can see, maybe people's blood splatters and everything like that. But maybe as the heavy snow picks up, maybe it would only last, 2 minutes or something like that, but maybe you would drain your stamina quicker if you didn't have a stam shot. Maybe it would like be physically difficult to sprint for everybody, regardless of stamina. Something like that. I don't know exactly how they would make balance changes to that, but I'm sure you could figure something out. And then, yeah, I mean, maybe you wouldn't be able to track people in the blizzard, and it would be so loud. And then also too, I mean, maybe you wouldn't be able to burn people because of the wet snow, something like that. I think that would be a good compromise. And then on top of that, I think it would be really interesting to add, obviously specifically to Mammoth Gulch, because Mammoth Gulch is just like, as far as like the actual dynamics of Mammoth Gulch, it is the most varied. And so I think starting first with Mammoth Gulch and experimenting with a big snowstorm and blizzard there, I think that would be a good place to start. But what do you guys think? You guys can let me know down in the comments what sort of wildcard conditions would you guys like to see in the future. We're going to be doing another video coming up about, it'll be less about midway through the event and more about like a year later of 1896. And we can talk about maps a little bit in that video as well, although we did in the previous video about all the maps in Hunt Showdown that I reviewed. So anyway, what do you guys think down in the comments below? What do you guys would like to see in the future? Let me know. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.